There are a lot of reasons why you should consider using binoculars. Whether you travel or hike a lot, do you visit sporting events and want to get closer to the action, or are you doing a particular outdoor activity like bird watching? In this Binocular 101 Part 1, we'll cover the basics of reading the numbers for any given binocular. So let's say we're using the Monarch 5 as an example. What we're going to look at is the numbering on the bino after that. In this case, it's 8 by 42 and 8.3 degrees. The first number on the label, 8, is the magnification of the binocular. This number represents how many times closer your subject appears in your eyepiece. While it might be tempting to select the largest number for maximum effect, there can be downsides. If you use a telephoto lens with VR turned off, you'll experience camera shake. Well, binoculars are the same, and shake becomes more pronounced at higher magnification. Long days of use can also lead to fatigue, which can make this problem even worse. Also, using higher magnification from a moving platform, such as a rocking boat, can be tricky and unsettling to use. The next number, 42, is the diameter in millimeters of the objective lens. If we have three binoculars with the same magnification, the 42mm model will gather more light than the 30mm model, and the 50mm model will gather more light than both of them. The more light you gather, the brighter the image will be, especially in low light situations like at dusk or dawn, or when viewing the stars. Keep in mind though, that the larger the objective lens, the binocular itself will become physically larger too. Now I said a larger objective lens will gather more light. That seems rather vague. Well, don't worry. There's a way to quantify that number with what's called the exit pupil. Now you can physically see the exit pupil if you hold a binocular at arm's length and look for the bright circle in the center of each eyepiece. The way to get a value for the exit pupil is to divide the diameter of the objective lens with the magnification. So 42 divided by 8 is 5.3 millimeters. Okay, but what does that actually tell us? Well, to know how this number matters, we have to look at our own eyes. The pupils of our eyes can dilate from 2 millimeters up to 7 millimeters depending on the light conditions. Let's look at two different binoculars, each with the same magnification, to see how their exit pupil affects how bright you see a scene. The Aculon TO2 8 by 21 equates to an exit pupil of 2.6 millimeters, while the Monarch 5 8 by 42 has an exit pupil of 5.3 millimeters. In low light situations, your pupil could be as wide as 7 millimeters. So the fact that the Aculon TO2's exit pupil is so much smaller than that means that you'll perceive the scene as being darker than without binoculars. Meanwhile, the Monarch 5's exit pupil of 5.3 is much closer to your eye's pupil, so the scene will be close to the brightness that you see with your naked eye. So that means you should never look at a low exit pupil binocular, right? Since it'll always look dark? Well, that's in low light situations, when the exit pupil is smaller than your pupil. But in bright conditions, our eyes can narrow down to 2 millimeters, which is smaller than the exit pupil of nearly all binoculars. So if you'll only be using binoculars during the day, you have more leeway and can select binoculars with smaller exit pupils. But anyone who will be using them for birding or during dusk and dawn should look at exit pupils of 5 or greater. So we've already discussed the magnification, the diameter of the objective lens, and their relationship together in forming the exit pupil. Lastly, let's go over the number in degrees and what it means. This number, 8.3 degrees, is called the real field of view, and it's the angle of the visible field that the binocular can see. The larger the number is, the more you can see. This can be really beneficial for bird watchers, as it's much easier to keep the binocular steady and simply move your eyes around the frame, rather than always having to move the binocular, possibly causing shake and maybe even losing your subject. A wider field of view can help you locate and follow your subject more easily, whether you're finding that bird or following the play on a football field. Another reason why it's sometimes best to use a lower magnification binocular is how it can impact the field of view. With a 10 or 12 times higher power binocular, not only are you possibly introducing more shake, but you're reducing the field of view, meaning you can see less of the scene. As a quick summary, the first number is the magnification. Higher doesn't always mean better, with 8 times being the most popular magnification unless they're being used for something specific. The second number is the diameter of the objective lens. A larger number means you can gather more light, which makes the image brighter. But you don't always want to pick the largest number, as the binocular will physically get larger too. The most popular size is generally 42mm, as it gives a pretty good balance between size and light gathering capability. The magnification and objective lens work together to determine the exit pupil. Any value higher than 5 is good for low light viewing. The real field of view is shown on all Nikon binoculars as a degree. While the design of the binocular will help determine its field of view, it's also dependent on magnification. A higher magnification means lower field of view. In this part 1, we went over some of the technical aspects needed to decipher what the naming scheme means for each binocular. Make sure to check out part 2, where we'll cover the different types of binoculars, explaining why there's such size and price differences between them.